Who's this? Oh, you're an entrepreneur? Oh, you're a real estate investor. Oh, you're trying to learn from those who did it. Well, come into the lab then. Put your white coat on, gloves on, notepad, and let's build, y'all.
Real estate experiment. What is happening, y'all? Today, I got my brother from another mother. I feel like Austin, it's so interesting because I got to welcome you in, but it just feels like so. We've been talking on the air for like 30 minutes already, and I'm like, okay, Austin, let's hit the record button, man, because I truly feel selfish, and you're such a giver. You already give me tons of value, but let me just level set for the people who are just tuning in. Austin, we connected through, I believe it was Jamie who connected us, right?
Yep.
Jamie. And from what I've learned and from getting to know you, the energy, same wavelength. But you've literally been in the trenches and, in business, you were just giving me advice, and you help other business individuals. You're a host of Construct Your Life podcast. What's really interesting, we didn't talk about last time, you're a veteran, right? For service industry veteran for like 20 years. Mm-hmm. Obviously, real estate investing, connected with Mike Shogren as well. We talk about short-term rentals, which I want to talk about. But really, we were just talking about offline. You're really here to help people break through. You're a coach, and I think it'd be kind of doing a disservice if we didn't really talk about how you really dug deep within your experience to really find who Austin was to then be able to help others. So welcome to the lab, brother. And
dude, I can't wait. I'm so pumped. I'm glad we're recording this because we were dropping fire earlier.
We were dropping fire.
Into it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you my stories. It sounds crazy, but I lived it, so I can just let it fly pretty quickly. I grew up. My dad was making more money. He's a dentist. They were really poor when I was younger, and we all of a sudden we started getting in nicer neighborhoods, and we started making. So I lived across the street from NBA players. We lived on the golf course. Nothing that you would look on the surface that would be a problem. I have a photographic memory. When I was younger, I got tested for the IQ test. It was off the charts. But when it comes to basic stuff, details, it's not really my speed. I'm more of a visionary kind of. So when I was in high school, I was getting in trouble all the time. And we came to the conclusion that it was either boarding school or I was going to move to Southeast Texas, which is the country. And my mom was going to put me in a different school at 17 and kind of just, I just wasn't vibing. So I went out to the country. It was a big shift for me. I went from like 4,000 kids to like 100, and they were driving trucks and camo and all that kind of stuff. And I got introduced to alcohol. And then I got into the restaurant business. And then, if anybody knows the restaurant business, you get introduced to other substances. It started with cocaine. And then the cocaine graduated up to methamphetamines. And it was one of those things where I was doing it on Fridays, and then Friday turned into Saturday, and you know that story. It just keeps going. And there was a time where I stayed up for 7 days straight, and I hadn't eaten anything, and I took like 40 Xanax to go to bed, and you're not going to bed, and you're riding this wave, and I lost 20 pounds, and I had an ex-girlfriend who saw me, and she was like, you look like shit. Like, you look terrible. Like, I don't know what's wrong with you. And, you get in these moments of trying to understand how you got there, right? And it's the one decision. And I have a very addictive personality. So what you have to understand about that addiction is I'm highly ADHD. So when I take those kind of drugs, I actually get really focused. It's really odd. It's like, it kind of like focuses you out, and you think that at first, like, oh, that's cool. And then like your life starts falling apart. So my parents didn't really know about the drugs, but I was just not doing good. So they kicked me out of the house. All I had was a bag of clothes and nothing, came from the country club. And my buddy picked me up. I had nowhere to live. And he was like, stop being a little biatch. He's like, get your shit. We're going to figure it out. And like, I'm just like lost. I don't know what I'm going to do. And my best friend at the time, his brother had a house in Beaumont. And he's like, look, man, I don't have any for you to stay, but you can stay here. And where that was underneath the stairs in a closet. So I slept in 50 square feet on a single mattress with a fan for 3 months. I slept in that closet. And I was like, what do I do? Well, my friend got me a job laying brick and tile. So I would be picked up at 5 a.m. and I would lay brick and tile in July in Texas. You can only imagine how hot that was. And it was I lived off $40 a month on ham sandwiches. And I worked like 60, 70 hours a week. I saved up enough money to buy a car. And then when I bought the car, I got my bartending job back. And I kind of kicked the drugs. It was you're sitting in a closet. I'm trying to paint the picture for everybody. You're sitting in a closet. Used to be in a 6-bedroom house on the golf course with a pool. I had a maid in the house. And you're thinking to yourself, like, how did we get here?
I was gonna ask you, like, what's because I think that's important, because we talk about you help people who may be in that situation today. Mm-hmm. Like, at the time, is it like, oh, I'm really messing up, or is it like, like, I'm trying to think literally, like, when you're going through it, right? Like, what is your mindset, like, I got to get out of this situation? Or is it like, how did I get here? Like, are you proactive, reactive? Like, what are you even thinking? Do you recall? You remember?
Yeah, I do. And see, that's the problem. And you hit it right on the head. In that moment, I had 100% victim mentality. So the reason that I was continuing to hit rock bottoms is it was never my fault. It was always, oh, well, they're doing this to me. Oh, they don't understand me. Oh, this. And what people don't talk about, what I don't talk about a lot, is when my parents never fought. So after I moved to Beaumont, 6 months after I moved, my parents got separated and divorced. So I blame myself for my parents' divorce for 20 years. This is a burden that I carried. I thought I was the reason they got divorced. So that started the victim mentality spiral that led to the drugs and alcohol.
Wow. Yeah. Okay, so a few things that I picked up too, like when you're talking, and I'm like, okay, this is interesting, because you got that buddy that picked you up, and then you also had the girl who's like, you look like shit. And sometimes I feel like we need that, right? Mm-hmm. Was that still enough of a wake up call, or was it just like in the moment? I was in the right mind frame enough to quit the drugs, the hard drugs. Like I was at enough space where what eventually happened was, I said, you know what, enough's enough. And I packed up my stuff and I moved to Austin, and I kicked the drugs. What's the self-talk for someone who's like, might be facing that? Because I don't know. I've never experienced it, but I can only imagine what someone's saying. Okay, that's easy. Or is it easy for you to say? Is it a decision? Like what? I'm almost getting emotional because you have to understand something. You don't have to understand anything. I hate when I say that. I'm just giving you a point. You, as a person, in that role, in that moment, are not taking ownership of anything that you're doing. It's my job's fault. It's, well, they don't understand me. And and it's not until you acknowledge your point and your problem in the scenario and take ownership of what you're doing that you can begin to change. And the problem that people that are at that spot have to understand is it's not a quick fix. It's not, but what it is doing is switching the perspective enough to ask for help, right? Yeah. We get in a bunker, there is a bunker mentality within the victim role that is impenetrable. Meaning, even for me, if I'm trying to help somebody, when they are down in the victim negative, water flow of emotion, it is impossible to get in there. Like, I don't care who you are, because they're bunkered down. Nothing you say is going to get into them. It's not until you make them in what I suggest, and this is just my suggestion with my clients and anybody I've met, the gym. The first place you can find some wins, some quick action, is getting in the gym, working out. Why do you say that? Because it's the quickest thing that you can do to make a movement inside how you feel. Meaning, the serotonins, the
the exertion of energy and sweating can change the mental makeup of who you are. So if you're a coaching client for me, it's not an option. You're working out, because why am I working on the mind if you're not working on the body?
Okay, I think everyone needs to hear that, because I think there's two things, man. Like, Austin, it's taking ownership is one thing, which I love, and then the quick fix, I think everyone needs to hear right now, because I think it's interesting. You're talking about what felt like rock bottom, but I think what's just as dangerous is those who feel like they're okay, right? Like, maybe it's, average American listening, right? And so maybe that's even more dangerous, because you think everything's all good, but you're not raising your hand and asking for help. Do you want to touch on that? It seems like you wanted to add
because
something
you want to know why. You want to know why, and this is what we joke about all the time. If I was in a meeting with you and I busted out an 8-ball of cocaine and I did it on the table, you go, "Oh, that dude's out of control. He needs to get his life together." But if you were the same guy, busted out a case of beer, and you drank the whole thing, you'd be go, "Oh, he just likes beer. He just likes beer," because we made weed and beer so socially acceptable, when really it does more damage. And you have to understand that if you think that you might have a problem, you probably do have a problem. And what you have to understand is, all I'm asking you to do is, I'm not asking you to quit forever. You don't have to be me, right? Yeah. But what I'm asking you to do is give it a week. Give it 30 days. Give it 20 days. And I promise you that you'll feel better, right? And what you're chasing in life is to feel better. So just chase that feeling and constantly try to go on that feeling. I figured out about something about people 2 days ago. Do you know what people in this world truly seek? I figured it out. On a general whole basis, what we seek is opportunity and growth. It's when people are in a job or in a situation where they feel like they don't have another alternative. But I'm telling you right now on this call, anybody that's listening, if you are hurting, if you don't see an out, if you're not feeling it, call me. I guarantee you 5 minutes with me, I will change your life, because there's always something to do better at. There's always something to live for. And I promise you, it just takes a quick fix. What I call it, my favorite theory is called the spoke in the wheel. You know how a bicycle keeps rolling down the street over and over again? Well, that wheel keeps turning, and that survival mindset keeps rolling, and that scarcity mindset keeps rolling. It's not until you do something like stick a stick in the wheel that you have changed the game. So what I'm trying to say to you is, if you're around the same people, right, that are always drinking. You know how I got sober from alcohol? Because I was an alcoholic for 20 years. I started a business with 2 gentlemen that were recovering from drinking. And it was the first time in my life I'd been around 2 humans my age that didn't drink. And I go, "Oh, this is a thing? You can be successful and not drink?" I didn't even know that was a thing. And it gave me the space to allow myself to try to get sober.
So I'm bridging the gap here, because you're making some really good points, and of course I'm taking notes in the lab, because I got Austin in front of me. I got ownership, environment, and quick fix. And what's interesting about the quick fix is, you said there isn't one. However, you did mention that one thing to address right away is the internal, which is going to the gym. So if I'm trying to, I guess, fix myself, it sounds like I could change my environment. And is that something that you went to, that someone listening should go to right away? Maybe start working out, start changing who they're hanging around with, and maybe it's more relevant with who we're listening to right now, with what's currently going on right now. How do I, change my environment? Is it the people I hang out with, what I'm consuming, what's around me, what's accessible? How would you define that for those of us who are listening?
Something extremely important about addiction and alcoholism and trying to change and stuff. People assume that quitting drinking is the problem, right? Mm-hmm. No. It's changing yourself and still being around the same friends. You want to know why? Wow. Because you are growing, and by you growing, you're stepping away from them, and you're making them uncomfortable in who they are, so they're going to try to pull you down. So you really have to remove yourself from that environment, because they don't want to see you do better. And when you're around people that don't want to see you do better and you're not strong enough mentally, you're going to revert back to your default habits, which are bad. So it really is about, that's not the hard part. Look, I lost 45 pounds and stopped drinking, went to a family function. And I was like, dude, I think I look good. Like, they're going to talk about how great I am. Do you want to know how many people talked about how I looked? 0. Do you want to know why? Because nobody cares. Work harder. It's at the end of the day, everybody has their own thing going on. So if you truly want to do this, you have to be around some people that support you being better. If they don't support you in that, you have to leave that environment. And when you're strong enough to go to back to that person or something, or you're mentally over some hurdles, then you go back. But at first, you're not strong enough to be around those people.
Yeah. So interesting. So going back to you, because I want to tie this together, because I think people always see the end result and, you know, who are looking at now Austin. So going back, you got your bartending license back, you got your car. It seems like you're, you know, starting to gain traction again. What's happening next in your life as far as the next moment that kind of helped you get out? Was it just a smooth ride out, or what obstacles did you face on the way out?
No, I've been taking body blows since I was born. But what I did is at 17 years old, I did read Rich Dad Poor Dad, right?
Nice.
And so to take a different concept, my dad's a doctor. Oh my God, you can invest, right? So I knew I wanted to do real estate. Well, what was happening, I was making good money as a bartender, as a waiter. But what happened was every time tax year would come around, we would look at our W-2s and we'd be like, we don't have any money. Where's all the money? Where's the money in the bank? And so what we realized is that our lifestyle was exceeding the money that we were bringing in. We had 2 nice cars. We had insurance that we were paying for in a city that you barely need to drive in because we lived in Austin. So I came home one day and I said, you know what? We can't do this. Like, we got to change it up. We're paying like $1,500 a month just in this, right? So that day we sold both of our cars. And I took the bus to work for 2 years. Like, change it up. So those quick shifts, I was able to save up 30 grand in 3 months. Like, boom, like just like that. Because I had a great job. So we stopped going out so much. We kind of flipped the script. And I just saved up money. And then we eventually moved to San Antonio. And that's where I bought my first investment property. But
Okay.
you have to understand is there's still drinking going on while I'm working. So, you know, that's when I thought I didn't have a problem, you know, but you're still getting stuff done, right?
Okay, so that's actually very admirable, because I feel like most people do not want to make those drastic lifestyle changes, right? Like, they've been doing it one way, they know that maybe it could be different, but they're like, it's too drastic of a shift, right? And it sounds like you've been able to learn how to, you know, I don't know if you stop cold turkey. It seems like obviously with the substance abuse, you have to go through some phases, but I mean, lifestyle wise, I feel like that's another problem of its own. Like, or you could call it addiction. Like, people don't want to give up anything and they want everything, right? What is your thought process when you're thinking of, all right, I'm going to take the bus for 2, like, is it just deciding on a day, plotting it, thinking of how do you take someone through such a drastic change and help them get there? Because I think it is necessary. I think people don't want to sacrifice, but I think it is necessary to have a different outcome in your life. So help us walk us through that.
There's an inherent problem in society these days with the being comfortable to be comfortable. And what I mean by that is there's a great documentary that Travis Watts, I just interviewed him, he told me to watch, called Playing with Fire, that you know, like, hey, you know, that that thing where they retire early, or, you know, they live below their means, save their money, blah blah blah. I don't prescribe to all that stuff, but what they did, right, that'll really make you think, dude, this will change your life. It's messing me up big time. They attach a year and month to everything that you buy to how much longer you'll have to work before you retire.
Oh, chill.
And that'll mess you up when you're like, oh, if I buy that car instead of this car, I'm going to have to work an extra 7 years. Dude, that'll make you start thinking, right? And we're so conditioned to live in the nice apartment, right? Does anybody understand that we have planes these days? like that like are cheap as like a TV. Like I think I flew to Sacramento the other day for like $75. Like if you can live wherever you want and you can get on a plane, you can get on a train, you can go visit. There's no need to pay the amount of prices so you can walk to the grocery store. That doesn't even make sense, guys, because my assistant just moved from Santa Cruz to Vegas. They cut their bills from like $4,200 a month down to like $1,800. That's a huge shift.
Absolutely.
You know, and they didn't want to live there. They lived there their whole life, but it's a strategical move to get into investments, right? And I have a friend who's a client, right? At the March of this year, he was in 45 grand worth of bad business debt, credit card debt, and college loans. Yeah. At the end of the year, he'll finish $100K in the bank, debt-free, positive. That's 8 months, guys. Nobody is willing to sacrifice 1 year or 2 years to literally get ahead. The vehicles of real estate, if done properly, can retire you in 3 years. But you have to understand that it's going to take some sacrifice. And when you're paying for a car that you drive 2 days a week, that's $700. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. But we have conditioned ourselves to saying, you know what we say to ourselves? But we deserve it. Right. No, you know what you deserve is to retire at 40 years old and spend the next 60 years of your life having an impact. That's what you deserve. Yeah. That's what the people, you know.
So that's interesting. Okay, so it sounds like you got to know your numbers up front, and it sounds like that's going to take you a long way from knowing your personal numbers to then being able to actually put yourself in a position to invest to then hopefully free you in the long run. So let's talk about that. You literally, we're going back to the story here. You got your job. You're saving. You went very aggressive. You changed your lifestyle, right? You started taking the bus, and now you got some money in the bank. You read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Do you mind sharing who maybe shared that in your network? I'm kind of curious as to where that came from for you in your life with all that was going on.
I had a friend that was a friend in high school, and his dad was an entrepreneur. He had a couple businesses. We went over to his house all the time. I swear to God, I tell the story. I called him like 6 months ago and thanked him. I was like, dude, I can't even.
It's literally like the Rich Dad. Like literally, you couldn't make it up.
So he put his hand on my shoulder. I was in their backyard at 17, and he goes, "Hey, you're a little bit different. Read this."
That's literally what?
And I read it, and I was like, "Oh, now I want to tell this because this is very important." Yeah. And I'm gonna call myself out for this. I was not mentally prepared to buy a property in my early 20s. I was too limiting beliefs. Dude, I was living in Austin before Austin was Austin, and we had a property in Pflugerville, which is 5 minutes north of Austin. 4-bedroom for $120. Oh my God, that house right now would be worth like $500. But FHA would not fix the roof, so that deal fell through. Then we had a condo that I didn't buy. That deal fell through. I had 7 bad deals. 2 of them fall through the day before closing. And I was really at a point where I felt like I would never get a property. I felt
So say that one more time. I think we need to hear that. You had 7 bad deals. Is this before your first one?
Yep. 7 properties.
I think we need to hear that.
2 that died the day before closing.
That's it. I'm going to repeat that again because I think we have this idea that something fails once and then I guess it wasn't meant to be. Let's go back to, you know what I mean? So Austin failed 7 times before, and he'll get into his portfolio and what he was able to do to level set. So if there's anybody out there who failed once or twice or 3 times, try 7, right? Mm-hmm. And then let's pick up the conversation again. So 7 failures, and then what's going through your mind at that point? Like,
so the last one was the hardest, man. I mean, the last one hit me like, dude, it was real. Like, I mean, dude, I haven't shared this with anybody. So get this. So I had a career job that I was waiting for like 7 months that I had been through 7 interviews. Like they were like, dude, it's done. You got it. This is a dream liquor sales rep job, great money, great benefits, everything. Mm-hmm. So I'm closing on Monday.
Stop.
On Friday, I quit my job in Austin to move to San Antonio. I have the interview Saturday morning. I'm like, I'm going to get the job. It's great. We're going to close on Monday. I left that job. I walked into the interview on Saturday. I was in there for 4 minutes with the CEO, and I go, I'm not getting the job, am I? Like, you hate my guts. And she goes, pretty much, and just like walked me out of the room. like what I found out later is like she gave it to her cousin. It doesn't matter. It's all political. But what I'm saying is, and then they found out that I left my job in Austin, and all of it I lost the job I was getting for, I lost the other job I had, and I lost the house all in 3 days span. So I was done. I was so over it, right? Like I was like, I'm just not meant to be. So true story. I've never told anybody this story. I went up to Austin and got drunk like really drunk. Like I was like over it. I was hanging out with my friends. I'm sleeping on my friend's couch. I get a phone call at 4:30 in the morning. It's my ex-wife at the time. And she goes, listen, every cuss word you could think of. Who the hell are you to leave me here? I'm still living at my brother's. If you don't have a house for me to rent today in downtown Austin, I'm done. Like, you need to get your shit together. You need to be down here and standing in front of me in an hour and a half. So like I slam on my jeans. I'm driving down to Austin, and I'm looking on realtor.com as I'm driving, and I'm like, this one looks great. And so like I just rented it right then. I'm like, I don't care, 6-month lease, like it's right in downtown, we'll rent it. So we rented it, we moved in, and I'm like licking my wounds, right? I'm like, like what do I do? Like I've got money, like it's just not gonna work, right? So I get a job, and I'm waiting tables at this restaurant, and I run into this couple, right? It's their anniversary, and he's like pretty whiskeyed up, right? And he's like, I tell him my story, and he's like, dude, like, that's not good, man. He's like, obviously, what I feel like is your lender didn't want to fight for you. He goes, I know somebody that will fight for you. I don't care. He was an agent. He goes, I don't care if I get the deal. I'm going to fight for you. He goes, here's my number. Give me a call. I gave him a call the next day. He put me in touch with this lender, and they go, oh, we can get you set up. Like our specialties, waiters, we'll get it all worked out. She's like, I'm like a bulldog. So she goes, start looking again. So we start looking again. And my agent at the time, you know what he said to me? I still remember this. I even know where I was standing. He goes, man, your work history is kind of like all over the place. He goes, maybe you should just give up for a couple years. He's like, maybe you should just like put it to bed. And I go, who the fuck do you think you are? I was like telling me that. Like, who says that as an agent? Who says that to their client? And I go, you know what, dude? You're fucking fired. I was like, how about that? And so I was done with them. I called that guy I met, and we found a house within 30 days.
Wow. That's insane.
Yeah.
That's insane. Wait, so there's so many gems, like the power of persistence, I would say. And then goes back to the root of what you said. Have people who literally believe, like surround yourself with people who believe in what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's my key takeaway too.
I don't mean to get off topic, but I want to stick to that point about believing in you. There's a guy that I met recently. I interviewed for my podcast. He's one of the most inspirational people I've ever met in my entire life. Mm. His name is Dylan Slattery. He recovered from cancer twice at 26 years old. They gave him a 15% chance to live. Seriously. The doctors said they had no belief that he would make it, right? Like they didn't. So he's like, I'm not going to go to them. And what he did is he went to another group, and they were like, look, it's chancy, but we believe that it can help you. And he goes, just that belief was enough of a window for me to change my outlook on the cancer. Like, that's super important.
Dude, it's so true, man. I like, you literally speak life into whatever it is you're trying to do by having that mindset. And I think it's just so important, in addition to the environment and the people that you keep around that are going to funnel that energy and yeah, as opposed to try to kill it. Yeah.
So this is great. So my agent at the time never went to this part of town, right? It's the rough part of town. Right. But I knew San Antonio was like Austin, and I was like, I feel it. It's 8 blocks from downtown. It's changing. And he goes, dude, you're going to have the nicest house in the area for like 2 years. I don't think you should buy this. He's like, it's not worth over 135. And she wanted 145. And I was like, dude, just, what is it? Like $100 on the mortgage? Like, just give me the damn house so my wife can have a house, right? So
this is the old agent, right?
this is my agent at the time. And
Okay.
he was like, all right, cool. So we put in the offer. She accepts it. We go to the appraisal, 135, like he said, right? So we close it, right? And I'm sitting in the title company, and I'm signing all the 46 documents, and the title guy goes, well, I mean, technically you don't really have the house until they really fund it. And I was like, I'm like, what? Don't say stuff like that to me. Like, I thought it's done. So we went to dinner. We went to lunch, right? We're sitting with him, and I'm at a Mexican restaurant, and there's like 10 tables outside, full business lunch going on. And I get the phone call. Like, it's funded. It's yours. I jumped out of my chair and go, fuck yeah. I was like, dude, I lost it. I was so, there was so much
relief.
Like years of relief. And I was like, holy crap, we did it, right? Well, we walked into the house and I bought the house and I realized there wasn't a master closet in the master bedroom. We didn't even notice. We were we just wanted to get a house so bad, right? Now, I'll be quick to this part. So we closed on that house, and I bought 2 other houses within 9 months. Like, I bought the house across the street.
Really?
So what I'm saying is, if we would have got that other house, I wouldn't have bought the house across the street that I picked up for $50,000.
And again, this was a transitional, it sounds like, neighborhood.
Transitional neighborhood.
Yeah.
Really rough, but you could tell there was some stuff going on, right? And you look at the signs. You're saying, well, there's construction. I hate to say this, and I'm sorry if this is funny, but I don't care. Oh, there's a lot of white people walking around. You know, like,
gentrification is happening.
Yeah, gentrification
is happening. The white folks are out. Yeah.
So what's crazy, right, is that first house that I bought within 2 years got revalued at $275,000.
Wow. In 2 years?
In 2 years. So I refinanced that house and pulled out $60,000, just like that.
Okay, so now you're playing Monopoly at that point. All right. So after 7 failures, you got that deal. You got the house without. That was the first one, right? The house without.
So that was the first one,
Yeah.
and then we bought
Across
another
the
one
street.
about a mile. Well, we bought one about a mile away with the business partner. But let's talk about Airbnb. So we started the house. We started the house, and we traveled a little bit. So we're like, look, we've got this big house. We don't need all of it. Maybe we'll start doing Airbnb.
How many bedrooms?
Just 3 bedrooms. Just 3 bedrooms, bungalow.
San Antonio, right?
San Antonio, Texas. So we started renting. We started renting the room out with an air mattress.
So hold for a second. Why did you guys? Were you guys traveling for quite some time? Like, what was the idea? Did you get any inspiration? Or were you just like, let's just rent it out? Like, where did that inspiration come from?
So I'm from the hospitality business, right? And we love people. Like, who doesn't love people from other places? It's my personality.
Yeah.
So we traveled a little bit that way. You know, it had been like growing, like home away was a thing, and we were like, maybe like we could do it, right? So we're like, let's just try it out.
The mattress, I love it. So simplistic.
We start with the air mattress, right? And then we were like, well, let's add a day bed in. So then we added a day bed in, and we started making a little money. You know, we made like $5,000 the first year, right? In like 6 months or something. And my wife at the time had taken a regional sales job in Houston. So she was in Houston at a hotel like 90% of the time.
Yeah.
So I'm in the house, I'm working 80 hours a week, and I'm like, can I rent out the whole house? Like, is that a thing? Like, do people do that? And I started like looking it up, and I was like, I think I can do that. So I rented out the whole house. This is where you're going to love it. My boy at the time had a second bedroom in his apartment that nobody lived in. So I threw an air mattress down on the floor, and I slept there when the house was rented out. And I was working. Right. So then I rented out the whole house, and I was like, oh, dude, we're doing it, right? And so we did like $11,000 in like 6 months, and I was like, oh my God, this is like a thing, right? Yeah. So then we got the second house with him, and we did Airbnb too. The first day we put the house on the market, it rented for $1,800. And I was like,
which
home
is this? This is
the second house.
Wow.
It was spring break, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, this is a thing. So we started doing it, right? So I'm working, I'm cleaning the houses too. I'm working. And the first year we did 66,000 gross.
That's crazy.
And you're like, hold on, there's a motto here. I don't know what I'm doing. People are happy. We're cleaning the house. We're making sure that everything is proper.
Right.
We're buying stuff. We're not really understanding what we're doing, right? But happy for the revenue. So I told her, my stepdad at the time, I said, if I ever call you and I say it's a home run, just wire the money. Don't ask questions. And so that house I bought across the street, I followed that deal for 9 months. Like, I went to him and I was like, if you ever want to sell, nobody lived there. I was like, if you ever want to sell, I'm your guy. And he goes, I'm not in a position to sell right now. I'm dealing with some family stuff. I might call you one day and you're going to be my first call. So he calls and I go over to the house and we're walking the house and he's like, I'm like, what do you got to have? And he's like, it's got to have a 5 in front of it. And I'm like, it's got to have a 5 in front of it. And he's like, yeah, like 52,000. And I was like, and my ex-wife was like, get out of here right now, because you can't hold a poker face. Like, get out. So I walked outside.
What were you expecting, I guess, in that market?
Like 150.
Wow.
Like, yeah. And so,
Jesus.
But you got to understand, everybody got what they wanted out of the deal, right?
Yeah.
And so nobody lived there. They owned it free and clear for 50 years. He wanted 50, but he made a very important point. He was an older gentleman. He said, Austin, I'm going to let you know, if I see an agent on this deal, nobody's getting the house. He goes, I want this to be as easy as possible, and I only want to deal with you. And I'm like, I never wrote up an offer. I don't know what's going on. I was like, okay, what do I do? So I'm like, I want this deal because I know it's a deal. So I called my buddy and I said, listen, dude, bottle of whiskey, walk me through this bad boy right now. So I filled out all the paperwork. I called a title agency. She goes, this is what we need. I wrote it in the contract. We need to do our due diligence. I wrote the earnest check. He held it. We agreed to a price. We went back when the foundation was really bad, and we got like $1,300 off, and we gave him some money at closing. So everybody was happy. We closed the deal. We got it, and then we wound up remodeling it, rebuilding the kitchen, rebuilding the front of the house. We put like $50,000 in it. I mean, it was a lot for a small house, but it was a 1910 house.
So, and Austin, I want to touch on that for a second, because you're saying it was your first time writing a contract. I think people always use that as a, kind of, I've never done this before. So you just got to just dive in, right, and do it, and call and use your resources, I think, right? I don't know if you would agree to that, but is that correct?
Well, okay. The problem that people look at is they don't look at their life as like many years, right? And what I'm saying is, like, let's say I made $20,000 off that deal, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's great. But the knowledge that I learned from the inside out, you could have taken away the $20,000, but nobody looks at that anymore. And I guarantee you that you have somebody in your neighborhood or somebody in your network that can walk you through something. Or I got a better idea. YouTube it. Everything's on YouTube. Yeah, I think you can learn. I think you can learn to fly a plane on YouTube. Like, and so we make excuses, but here's the deal. If you know you're staring at like $80,000 worth of profit, I guarantee you're going to figure it out.
Figure it out, yeah.
And so, it's one of those things where I'll tell you this, and I want to wrap this up because this story can take a while, but we furnished it out. We rented it out on Airbnb for 2 years, right? It was doing great. The mortgage on the property, full bills were like $680. The house was doing $2,200 to $3,200 a month. But something that's very important, and I don't think people do enough due diligence on their asset and what they're looking for. Something that's very important. I'm going to give a nice lesson here for a minute. My entire neighborhood was zoned RM4. Does anybody know what that is? I do, because I had to figure it out. The entire neighborhood is zoned for 4 separate dwellings on each property. And it's 8 blocks from downtown. So you know what that means? A developer can buy your property, scrape it, and put up 4 townhomes. How beneficial?
Wow.
How beneficial is that, right? So we had 2 corner lots in downtown San Antonio that are zoned RM4. So this lot was almost like a half an acre. And it was only an 800 square foot house on this property. That's it. So long story short, father-in-law decides he wants to get out because they got laid off. So I look like Nostradamus, but we sold it 3 days before COVID hit, right? And we have to understand that we sold it TVs, toilet paper, laundry. We sold it literally everything to an agent. We had 3 offers on the property. I sold it for $1,000 over asking. We sold it for $180. So we did $32,000 in gross a year off the property. And so we sold it for $108. We broke the price per square foot in the neighborhood, like the best price for every square foot. But what I want to make very important, I don't care about the money at all. You want to know why I don't care about the money? Because the confidence and the knowledge of the execution of 9 years hunting down a deal, 6-month remodel, 2-year Airbnb to sell. And you wake up and you go, maybe I know what I'm doing.
I did
like
that.
maybe like, because that was my first property to sell, right? You're like, I read it. I read the books. I talked to the people and I did it. And then but like that confidence, like, wouldn't you agree with me, is so much more than any dollar amount I made.
The process. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So, wow. So talk about timing. How the hell did you pull that out?
I don't know.
I'm riding with you, man. Whatever you bet your money on.
You know what's weird about life? And I don't think people do this enough. I have a weird gut feeling a lot of times. I used to do this in business with my waiter jobs. I know when it's time to get out. Like there's like maybe you're feeling it, right? And something I learned from Aaron Wagner, this guy, this commercial developer, he did a YouTube video about this. He interviewed the 4th wealthiest families in the world, meaning the Rockefellers, all those big guys, right? And the only family that was still making money in the 4th generation was the Rockefellers. And he asked the grandson, what did your grandfather tell you that has allowed you to be successful continuously? And he said that my grandfather always said to sell early. And what he means by that is don't count other people's money. Sell, because the superpower in real estate is momentum that nobody talks about. And if you can make a profit and not take a loss, the momentum from that sale is more important than holding on for too long and maybe losing money, right? And people don't talk about that enough. If you've got a nice profit, take that money and put it in another deal. Like, you don't need to hang on. Either you're a buy and hold guy, you're a wholesaler, whatever you are. But momentum is a crazy creature, right? And it's the same thing in multifamily real estate. It's not so much important about the price you're buying the asset for. It's about, can you close? Well, if you can close, you're going to get other deals thrown your way. As a flipper, if you can close and you do what you say you're going to do, you're going to get 60% more deals sent to you. So don't be looking at each profit in a deal as the significant part as it is about doing the deal and getting it done and succeeding, which is so much more important.
Never heard that before. That's awesome. Seriously.
Yeah.
Like I don't think I've ever heard that. And I think it's so important, which is really, really cool, man. That's wow. So, okay. So short-term rental. So how did you just continue to double down on what worked too? Cause I mean, you said you listened to your gut on the way out. What was after? Okay. You talk about momentum. So you take that money and then what did you do with it? Do you continue this model or did you say, hey, I want to read, another book, or I want to get insight from another mentor and do something else? Like, where does that?
First of all, I joined a mastermind, and you know him, M1. And I got in the group, and these guys had like 18, 20 Airbnbs. And a great dude I know from Canada who has like 20, he goes, wait, you're still messaging the guest yourself? He goes, you're an idiot. What are you doing? Stop that. He goes, there's apps, there's systems. One 30-minute phone call with that guy had me systematize my business and made me feel like I could go do 30 when 3 were killing me. And it really is about being in those conversations with people that are farther ahead of you, that are going to allow you the access to things that you don't even know about, as long as you're open to hearing them. That's super important.
That's major. Being open to hearing it. Yeah.
Because
so you got,
go ahead.
No, I was going to say, because it seems like you continuously get enlightenment along the way. It's like you got it from the book, then you get it from the mastermind. Now I'm curious, in your level where you're at, is it still the same people, or are you getting different kind of avenues of juice and inspiration?
I want to share this because this is super important, and I'm very transparent. So I'm happy to share my first failure in business. When I had the 3 properties, I joined the mastermind. I met 2 dudes that wanted to get an Airbnb but didn't know it, and I did. So we decided to create a company where we would manage other people's Airbnbs and do a couple lease models. So in a short amount of time, we grew. In 5 months, we obtained 26 properties in 7 states, like that quick. Like, we had a network. Like, I was flying all around the country. I was setting them up. We were making money. Like, we were having like crazy months, right?
Now, is that because you had the proof of concept in place, just for our listeners? Because you talked about that. Like, how did that? We had a huge network, all 3 of us. Yeah. And then I had the proof on my end to show people that we can make the money. Yeah. And so that's how we got deals. But I'll say, everybody said, do not go into multiple markets. You will fail. It's not scalable. You're not in a position to do it. We said, no, screw you. We're going to be different. We're going to be better than everybody else. And we woke up 5 months in, and there was a lot of money coming in, but there was no money to the net. And we had a realization that what we were doing wasn't working. But more importantly, I was lying to myself about the role that I wanted to do in that business, because I was ultimately so unhappy with what I was doing because I couldn't turn it off. Like, I was getting 60 to 80 messages a day. Like, and it didn't fit my lifestyle, and I was very unhappy. And we decided that me and one of the business partners didn't see eye to eye. The vision that we had didn't see eye to eye. So I decided to walk away. And I walked away in July of that year after we started it, and I lost 26 grand. And it was that's of your own money that you put down, or just profit?
Of my own money. Yeah.
Why do you? So, we talked about exit strategy or knowing when to get out, or in this case, it was just more, it didn't feel right. Describe the difference between when you went into it with these guys, right, and the feeling when it wasn't right anymore. Do you think like the excitement blinded you, or like what do you think it is? Because I honestly, I myself, for example, like I've had this exact same experience, and I'm curious. I don't know if I can answer it, so I'm being a little bit selfish, but
I can answer it for you. But but there's a second point in the back of the half, and I'm going to make it very important.
Okay. Yeah.
The excitement to be bigger than I was, and like, oh my God, this could be my avenue out. You have to understand, I was 20 years in the restaurant business, and I wanted to get out for 66 years. Like, could this be the thing that gets me out? And like, oh my God, look at the scalability, how we could go. Yeah. And there's a lot of talk before there's results. And I think that's a very interesting point. But something that I want to make very clear. And I just had this conversation with my ex-business partner on my podcast. I had him on my podcast.
Oh, wow.
And he has since left the business too. I will forever, and I mean forever, be grateful to these 2 humans for 2 reasons. One, I believed in something so much that it allowed me to burn the boats and quit my restaurant job. So I finally believed in something so hardcore, and I gave everything that I had to it, even though it failed, that it allowed me to leave 20 years of comfort to pursue being a real estate entrepreneur. The second thing is, both of these guys were recovering from alcohol, and they gave me a space to be okay with being sober. So what price tag can I put on 26 grand to get back my entire life?
That's deep, man.
But more importantly, and Jamie Gruber, here he is, we'll throw him in. I was a wreck the 2 days after I lost the 26 grand. I was like, you screwed it up. You get your one chance in life is over. You're a piece of shit. Like, I mean, I was just beating myself senseless, right? Drinking the whole, like, oh, no, I wasn't drinking. Sorry. I was just not happy, right? Not in a good place. Jamie calls me and he says, hey, did you go to business school? No. Do you have your master's in business? No. He goes, well, consider this your crash course, 26K of your college credits to learn a business from the inside out. You're better for it. Move on with your day.
Wow.
And that was like the switch. I was like, oh, this was just training. Like to literally be a part of a business and scalability, right? And understand that like I can do this. And like, but what it is, right? Is I think we as society, meaning we as people, are not self-aware enough to be okay with our faults. Look, anybody that's on this call right now can tell I'm very high energy and I'm very excited about life. But I'm going to let you in on a secret. When it comes to spreadsheets and integrating, I ain't your guy. but I didn't know that about myself, and I lied to myself. And so it wasn't until now that I surround myself, after I read Rocket Fuel, it wasn't until I surround myself with integrators and spreadsheet guys and guys that love to do scheduling and emails that it allows me in the position to soar in the highest abilities of who I am as a person.
Yeah, but and I want to touch on that for a second, Austin, because I think it's important, and I do like to challenge that thought because
Sure.
We call it the lab experimentation,
Sure.
experiment, and I don't think at first that you know that and you have enough data to know, right? Because you're going in, for example, you wrote your first contract. Like, okay, did you know that you're a contract guy or not? Well, it didn't matter. You were doing what was necessary, right? So, do you want to talk about that transition? Because I think that's important.
That's a really, yes, you challenged me and I like that. That's a good point. If you're gonna have a business that at scale, meaning with multiple employees, you need to know. But if you're doing it yourself, you need to fight through it, meaning you're not going to have the capital to hire these guys.
Right, yeah.
But that being said, and I'll use you as an example.
Yeah.
If your negative drawback from not starting a podcast is because you don't want to do the production side of it, well, that's a cop-out. It's an excuse. Because now you have people like you. Now you have people like Fiverr who can do like, so don't use that as an excuse to get started, because we live in a day and age where options are available for everybody. And so if you need somebody to do it and you really don't want to do it, then do it. But I will caution you this as a CEO. If you're not doing all the tasks in your business at first, you can be taken advantage of very quickly.
That's a fact. Yes, sir. Everything, and I pride myself on that. Everything that happens in my company, I've done. And I understand. And I think you have to have a level of competence so that you understand. But I want to go back to your point, and it ties in. I want to piggyback what you said, because I think it ties in. You actually answered this in the beginning. It's awareness, right? So just because, I've done the video stuff, the editing, all that stuff, but I'm aware that might not be the best use of my time. And there's some people who don't have that awareness. You're like, no, I got to do it. Right. So I think to your point, it's having the awareness of understanding what you're good at. Like, you understand now that you're not a numbers guy. You maybe have to go through it as an experimenter in the beginning to do what you needed to do. But then once you realize that, now in a position where you're trying to scale and grow, which I think, everyone who's listening to this has that idea of trying to grow. And that's why they're listening to this podcast. Then you need to be aware of really what you're good at and where others can be best and serve you and help you in areas that are weaknesses. I don't know if you would agree with that.
No, it's 100%. The number one issue that alpha people have, meaning
Yeah.
business owners and CEOs, whatever you want to call it, is they're control freaks. And what you have to understand is that in my 20s, I was a lone wolf. I'm going to do it on my own. Who cares? I can figure it out. I'm just going to grunt through this thing.
Yeah.
And that's good, and it gets you to a point. But this is something very important and something I work on with my clients. We have a messed up way of doing business in this world. We create a business, and then we wrap our lifestyle around the business. No. You create a lifestyle, and then you wrap your business around it. And what I mean by that is if you think that you need 20 Airbnbs to retire, you are high, really high. If you do it all yourself and you have 3 profitable Airbnbs, you can retire. So my question to you is, who are you trying to get to the 20 Airbnbs for? Because if you're making 120 grand a year and you're not working and you're just taking care of your Airbnbs and you get to go to all your daughter's soccer games and your son's soccer games, then who are you trying to get to 200 for? Because every time that you create 50 grand within your business, you're probably going to have to hire somebody. Do you want to be a manager of that person? And what I'm saying is I don't think people have defined what they want enough.
Yeah.
They let the business dictate their life, not the other way around.
Yeah. Well, it's so interesting because now you're talking from an entrepreneurship perspective, but I think the problem, and we see this a lot, and I'm sure you see this a lot, is the blueprint, the way we've been wired with your career, right? You don't talk about, hey, what's your lifestyle like when you're in school? And I think that, man, I want to talk about that because there's such there's something broken there, right? With how we design our lives. We're already setting it up to be broken there. What's your major? What are you going to study? All that has nothing to do with what you like to do every day. And that's one thing. And that's probably the majority of people listening. Now then the other side, which is interesting because we talk about this in my circle, it's, what kind of business do you want? And I even think about it too, Chris. If I look at myself and I'm trying to aspire to be, greater than I am, do I want a VaynerMedia like Gary Vaynerchuk where he has 200 employees and deal with that? Or do I want a lifestyle business where I can have a very, very profitable cash flowing business and be able to go to the Hamptons with a fiance like I just did, and not have to worry about like all these nuances and maybe legal team compliance? Like this is real stuff when you're building a very large company at scale. Or, do you want to go public? I always say I never want to go public. I would never put my company in a stock exchange. I just wouldn't. But anyways, like things like that, I think there's just, I love what you said. Again, I've never heard this before, and I'm resonating with it. I wrote it down: lifestyle plus business, not business plus lifestyle. Wow.
We somewhere in our 20s and going through college and getting the BMW and moving to New York and all these things, forgot what makes us happy. When I was a kid, you know what I wanted to be? The guy that rode on the back of the garbage truck, because that shit looked fun.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to say to you, and this is my new soapbox, and I'm staying on it till the day I die, and I'll send it to you when we get done. We no longer have fun anymore. And what I mean by that is we accumulate properties, we accumulate bills, we accumulate cars, we accumulate things that we have to pay for that don't allow us to be ourselves. Because you're beholden to the man, right? You're beholden to the credit card company, the loan, the whatever things. When you look it back, if COVID has taught us anything, is that we as society don't need a lot to be happy. But what we choose to do is allow ourselves to be distracted by things because we don't want to look at what we truly want. I'm doing the opposite of what everybody else is doing. I'm scaling back because I know something's coming. And so I want to be in a position where I am never, like, perfect example, I don't work Fridays. I'm an entrepreneur. I've got multiple things going on. But I leave my Friday open because I want it to be what I want it to be. Am I golfing with investors? Am I whatever? And what I'm trying to say to you is we as entrepreneurs can set the table on what we do. If you work your best at 5 a.m. and you want to work till 2 every day and be done and hang out with your fiance, hang out with your, then do that. Because what you're doing by not doing that is you're allowing somebody else to run your day, and you're not running your day. Because you operate, and the biggest thing I did was I moved my podcast to Wednesday, only Wednesdays. Like, I only do that on Wednesdays because I'm so focused, right? I'm just doing podcasts. And I was like, oh my God, nobody's going to book. It's Wednesday. They're going to be busy. And guess how many people have said anything? Nobody.
No one. Yeah.
Like, no one.
Shut your life.
Triple A Adams told me this. He said, we have so many things going on as entrepreneurs. You designate days for what you do. So
I've heard of that, and I love that. I need to start doing that.
I only do coaching on Tuesday. I only do podcasts on Wednesday. I do meetings on the other day. A lot of guys, you know what they do? This is gonna mess you up. I just ruined your whole afternoon. Guys that have multiple businesses only work on one business on one day, on Monday. They work on the second business on Tuesday. That way it keeps their mind focused on the same business.
Yeah, because there's that transitional time too. Where I was, like reading or educating myself on like the focus. Like when you change tasks, there's a lagging period of like focus. I think like 10 or 15 minutes to even get focused.
I do
your phone rings.
I do a podcast on Wednesday. I'm just
You're
locked in all day.
Locked in, yeah. It's so funny. I've heard that, and one of the things that, again, experimentation, you can hold me accountable. I like trying new things. And that is one thing I want to try, like dedicating a day to, again, in our case, like maybe the vertical integration, that's the business vertical that you're working on all day, because I've heard of that before, but I've yet to try it. And I think it's time.
Well, the reason I did it, it was almost necessary because I was traveling so much that I was trying to, you're like, where am I going to be on Friday? And by knowing it's on Wednesday, I need internet on Wednesday. Got it, done. I can be wherever I want the rest of the week.
Yeah. That's another thing we haven't touched into. I have to give, salute to you because you're traveling. So documentaries has been beautiful.
6 months, 16 states.
Wow. That's insane. I've seen the pictures, man. You guys got to check them out. Austin, what's your handle? Well, definitely check it out. Even on Instagram.
Austin Linney on Instagram. But what I'm doing, and this is perfect for your show, Experiment Nation.
Yeah.
This was a test. This was a test. Can I work my businesses from the road? Is this doable? Is it doable to do the podcast? Is it doable to wholesale some real estate? And what I found is we've got some things to change. It's doable. But if I had this, it would really be doable. Okay, well, great. So now we're back in Texas. Let's frame up some stuff. Let's get the things that we need. Let's get some systems put in place. Let's hire some people and then allow me to go, right? Because what I am a champion of, anybody that's listening, if you need 5 minutes to call me, because I am tired of us deciding to live our life at 65 years old. Like, live your life now. Like, when you still got two knees that work, like, go to Italy, work from there. Like, what really messed me up, what really changed my life, when I was running my Airbnb from Spain. That was like a whole month in Spain, and the Airbnb's making money. People are checking out, and I'm going, oh my God, this is a thing. This is something I've always dreamed about. I'm on a beach in Spain, and it's happening. Like, and that was like the light bulb moment for me that changed my entire life, where this was possible, right? But you have to understand that you have to have conversations like M1, GoBundance, these masterminds. They make you write out your financial stuff. Like, you have to have conversations about where your money is going. And too much in life as investors, we talk about, well, I got 1,000 units, right? Yeah, that's great. But what are you really making? Like, are you netting? Like, are you 1,000? You're 0.11%. I don't care how many units you have.
Yeah.
You know what we need? What's not talked about enough is net profit.
Yeah,
that's what matters.
Yeah, I mean that's what everyone's selling you, and that's the whole rah trying to stay competitive and relevant. And this is what I'm doing for everyone to show how many units I have. But at the end of the day, it's is it in alignment with your lifestyle? And are you netting enough to build the lifestyle you want to build? Because to your point, you can have very easily 1,000 units and be negative. And this is what we were talking about before the show, right? Having a short-term rental and making sure it's profitable. Austin, I want to touch on this for a second. You've talked about the ups and downs, and obviously right now you're high level coaching, and we're going to talk about how we can reach you. I do want to talk about coaching for a second though, because you're working with a lot of people, and I'm always curious to hear, like I always say, your business is a reflection of who you really are up here, hands down. And I'm curious if you want to give us some gems, as your whole brand is construct your life. What are some of the, I guess, obstacles that you hear that start in here that you continuously hear right away? Like as soon as you start speaking with someone,
you're getting me going, baby. This is my wheelhouse. Okay. Yeah. This is super simple. All this stuff is going to resonate with you. There is a inherent factor of 3 basic things that I see in every client I deal with. A lot of my guys are real estate investors, entrepreneurs. I get a lot of agents that are trying to double their business. There are 3 things that are running the vein through everybody. One is they live their life on a scoreboard, meaning how many calls did I make? How many deals did I go after? That's great, but were they productive? And what I mean by that is there was a report out in an NLP sales book that said that 80% of your deals that you get come from 5 people. And what I'm saying, that I had a client, he was making 600 cold calls a day. And that's very exhausting. And he was getting somewhere, but he wasn't getting where he wanted to get. So I said, I got a better idea. How about you write down 20 people that you've done deals with that do deals and reach out to only those people for a month. He closed 6 deals in 3 weeks. Guys, and I'll do you one better. I'll give you another stat. My mentor at one point was flipping 175 houses a year. They ran a report that 80% of the deals that they closed were on the 8th follow-up. The 8th. It's you have to make sure that the time that you're spending, the clients that you're servicing are actually clients that do deals. And that person that went to look at the 16th house, you need to look at them and go, look, whatever I'm doing for you, obviously I'm not finding the perfect house for you. Maybe we should reassess and maybe we can rework this. You have to take ownership of your boundaries and your time and make sure that you're not just spinning your wheels. It's very important.
Okay, so you said the scoreboard was 1.
Yeah, they're thinking, well, I'm a crappy person because I didn't do my 600 calls today. That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't, remove yourself from that. But here's the biggest thing. They tell me this all the time, and I'm so over it because I just had a coaching call this morning. Well, I'm not doing enough. My wife thinks I'm unhealthy, and I'm not doing enough for my bosses. And I asked them flat out, who's telling you this? Is your wife telling you this? Is your bosses telling you? Well, no. Well, Ruben, who's telling you that?
You're telling yourself that.
The stories that we create in our mind are destroying us. And you need to understand something. I had the biggest aha moment in my life. It is not the promises that we break to other people that tear us down. It's the promises that we break to ourselves. And every time that you start something and don't finish it, every time you go to the gym and don't complete the workout, every time, they will rip you up inside. And guess what? You can't see it. But every time, it eats a little way of you. And what I mean by that, I bring it back to what I said earlier. By you committing to 3 days a week in the gym, 20 minutes, and doing it, you're completing a task. And you're saying, I did it. Stop making up stories of oh my God, that person didn't text me back. They must hate my guts. What are we talking about? You don't even know. They could be in a car wreck.
Exactly.
You don't even know.
Call them back. Do the 8th call. No one's being bothered. People have other stuff going on. They forgot about you. Follow up. That's a big thing too. Where they think oh, I must be bothering them. No, you're not. We got 1,000 different stimulants going on. Our phones are going off. Shows, kids, family. They forgot about your discovery call. They really did. No one, look at my email, my inbox. my text messages, I have 103 unread texts.
You're not a mean guy. You're just busy,
dude. If you call me and like, you can't thank you. Like this is so important because I think like I can't even think of I respect people who follow up. Like I had this guy I was working with, he kept following. I'm like, yeah, honestly, I respect your grind because I know what you're doing. Like I really respect it.
Dude, Pace told me last night that he had 2 people mining his DMs for deals, and that wasn't still enough. He's not a dick. He's just busy. Yeah. Like, you know, and so you have to understand. I'll tell you the greatest story ever. You're going to love this of all people. Make sure that when you show up to something, you leave an impression. Yep. I met this guy. He was on a call for my mentor's private group. I said, I don't know about this guy, but I love him. I love his energy. I love everything he's about. I'm going to meet this dude. I don't have any idea how I'm going to meet him. Big investor. So I DM him. Conversation starts. Okay, whatever. Hey, man, I'd really like to come up to Arizona and follow you around. I really love what you're doing. Can I follow you around one day? Sure, sounds good. Show up in October. Hey, man, October's too busy. You can't come. Hey, man, you can't come in November. It's too busy. Hey, man, December. It's too busy. You can't come. I'm like, this mother effer. So I bought a plane ticket, and I sent him a text message of the plane ticket, and I said, I'll be there January 6th. Clear your schedule. Deal with it. And he goes, sounds good. On the books. So I fly in.
Awesome.
Wait for it. From his Instagram, I knew that he liked Cadillacs. So I went out and rented a 1966 Cadillac on 20s with suicide doors.
My man.
And I showed up to his office, and he lost it. And he was like, dude, what is this? And I go, this is what we're driving around for the day. And he goes, we're pulling out of his office, and he goes, why did you do this? And I said, because when I leave today, you will always remember Austin Linney.
Wow.
And dude, this world there's so much going on. How are you going to set yourself out? There's a million podcasts. There's a million content out there. How are you setting yourself apart? Don't be like everybody else. But this is why it's very important. And I'm going to give you my third point with my clients. And this is everybody. This isn't my clients. This is the general population. And we need to stop right now. We live our lives from context. And what I mean by that is we don't show up to meetups, this Zoom call, our office, a party with friends, ourselves. We show up the way that we think that people want us to act. Dude, I'm goofy. I like to dance to Miley Cyrus. I like to get a little crazy. And it wasn't until I embraced who I was that I became more authentic, and the people that I wanted to be surrounded with found me. And we need to stop placating to who we think we should be. And granted, there's certain scenarios, hey, don't show up in short shorts at your job. I get that. Yeah. But in your day-to-day life, just be who you are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so important. Even right now, right? With all that we're consuming, even how people host these podcasts, it's interesting because we're influenced, right? I think by everything we do, right? Mm-hmm. Everything that we consume, even myself, like I love, Tom Billio, like Impact Theory. That's my guy. Dude. Like I try to even run my interviews like him. You know, it's just the way he asks questions, right? So I do think there's a level of like, you know, influence, but like to your point, there's a level of genuineness, right? Like authenticity, right? Like that only you have, that you need to bring to the table and need to own and not be afraid of. Which again goes back to knowing yourself. Yeah.
So my buddy's a high-level business coach, and he told me one of the greatest pieces of advice I've ever heard in my entire life, and I want people to take this into everything that they ever do in life. Yeah. I just started my podcast, and I'm not saying this about myself, so calm down, everybody. That's not what I'm saying, but I want you to have this thought in your head. He said, I don't care if you started your podcast 4 months ago. He said, I want you to meditate on the fact that there is a real conversation that you could be the greatest podcast host that ever's been created. And what he's basically saying is, I don't care if you got started 12 years later. You know what Joe Rogan said the other day? There are 5 people that are going to be way bigger than me in 10 years than I ever was in podcasting, but they learned from him. So don't compare yourself or when you got started to anybody else.
Yeah.
Because that's a real conversation. You could have just started flipping houses at 50 years old, and maybe you're the best flipper in the world. But by you discrediting yourself, you haven't even given yourself a chance to get out the door yet.
Yeah. I want to make myself vulnerable for a second because I think people need to hear that, right? People need a little bit more because I think everyone's putting on a front. Properties they have, whether they're a limited partner, whatever, all that. I had pushback starting a podcast, interviewing, and I've had some really high-level people just like you who have true practitioners, right? Who have own portfolios huge, right? And compared to me, I'm like, who am I to host a podcast with these people? I was putting limiting beliefs in front of myself where I will host a podcast when I have blank. And the crazy part is that when I did start the podcast, the very thing that I had pushback and limiting beliefs on, it opened the doors for more relationships, my business thrive, my agency, which you guys know of. And had I let that limiting belief get in my way, I wouldn't even be where I'm at today, because literally like, people who have literally interviewed have become partners, have become literally clients. I mean, that's literally like my agency. There's no ads. It's all referral business.
Yeah.
And so it's like, to me, I think there's just so many areas in our life like, when I have this, then I will do that. Whatever that when is, that's probably the thing that's actually holding you back from getting to like when you will get there. So just, and I'm sure you can, kind of like attest to that, because I think that's like, I'm putting myself out there, the experiment nation. I experimented with podcasts and it led to a lot of the little success, I will say, the humble success that I've had. But it's unbelievable how that very same thing was the obstacle that was stopping me from going forward.
There's two things that shaped my life. We literally only talked about this at the meetup last night. This is my first thing I do with my clients is like already start this thing. True story. Expert Secrets by Russell Brunson like shaped a lot of what I'm doing right now.
Yes, sir.
And I want people to open up their ears and I want you to listen to this. I get more views and more shares on podcasts from an investor that has like one or two deals or never been on a podcast than I do when I have a big guest on. Guys, what does that tell you? People cannot resonate with somebody like Gino Barbara, who's the greatest human I've ever met in my life because he has 6,000 units. But they can touch you because you have 3 properties. I can get there because everybody has a story. And by you not telling it, I'm going to go back to Dylan, the guy that had recovered from cancer. You know what I told him? I said, hey, man, I've never had anything like cancer, so I can't, tell my story. And he goes, Austin, I'm going to challenge you. It's horseshit. He goes, I'm going to let you know something. Your struggles are your struggles, just like my struggles are my struggles. And we all have a story to tell. And by you not telling it, you are holding your gifts back from the world, because I'm letting you know something right now. You could literally document going, I'm a bartender and I got 3 properties in a year. But think about it this way. You're going to open yourself up to your own mastermind almost. I would go on that show and like, dude, I'll do one better. This is what I'm doing. On the 30th, I'm bringing on 3 investors that have never bought a property, that are brand new into the business, and I'm letting them ask me whatever question they want for an hour. Do you know what I would give to do that?
Yeah.
And so I'm thinking to myself, like, how can I give back? How can I help, right? And so by you not being on social media, or you not starting something, you're holding yourself back. But more importantly, if you're not doing that in this day and age, you're behind. It's the truth. And it doesn't have to be to the level that anybody else is doing. I mean, you could do a 20-minute thing and you could do this or whatever, and but like you're holding yourself back, really.
Yeah, I think it goes back to the image that we're trying to portray, right? And I think that's why, even myself, I get caught up in this sometimes, like only posting nice things. But part of what it started, Experiment Nation, if you go to my very first post, and people know this, like literally my very first post was like, I'm going to get started in real estate. I don't know if you've seen it. Literally, that's
no, I haven't
first
seen
post.
It. Yeah.
I joined the mastermind, like I went to it. That was the first post. And then I always said #wins and losses. So I put it when I failed my license, trying to get my broker's license or my realtor's license. I failed the first exam. I put it up there. I think being vulnerable is going to get more attractive because I'm like, I can relate to that. I failed too before.
Dude,
but this guy, like,
when I meet somebody,
flaws? Like,
no, when I meet somebody, you know what I do?
Yeah.
First 5 minutes in, I was a drug addict on meth, and I was a homeless, and
there
I was an
on the
alcoholic
table.
for 20 years, and I've lost 50 pounds. Because I'm going to switch to the coaching for just a second. This is a very important point. Everything that you think is a negative flaw or an issue that you're dealing with, by you keeping it in the shadows, you are allowing it to control you. It is not until you bring it into the light that it no longer has a hold on you and you can remove yourself from it and break free from it. Done.
I love that. I can attest that. I'm gonna have a cool post for you and Michael, because this deal actually shot a video about how it didn't go through, and I think people need to see that it's not just the wins.
That's the truth. I mean, the more vulnerable you are, the more they can relate with you, the more they attach themselves to you, the more they're championing for you, right? And I think, dude, it's a true. Like, see, you're just like me. I like to experiment with posts too, and I'm like, well, what worked? What didn't? Yeah. The post that I did of the before and after picture of me losing 50 pounds.
I saw that on LinkedIn. Good job.
Destroyed. I mean, what I'm saying, destroyed every part. But something I want to make very important, if you're creating content, because I get caught up in this, there's a lot of people watching you that are in the shadows that aren't comfortable with coming out. So just because they're not commenting doesn't mean they're not watching.
I always talk about this all the time. You think it's the people who hit the like and the comment and share. No, there's some people who are just watching you. And I've experienced this because I've had a guy literally who's like, hey, yeah, listen to your podcast, came to my meetup, did a deal together. I'm like, he was honestly, I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. Like, I know on Anchor, I could probably had like at the time, like 8 listeners. He was one of those, or not even like, I think 5. And that's what it is. People think when I have X amount, when I have this, I even told myself this on the air. I thought when I get to a certain level, I will start interviewing. And then that's screw it. No, this is the very thing that's going to help me. So,
dude, my new thing. I just said it on a podcast yesterday. I'm so sick of everybody thinking everything needs to be perfect. Oh, dude, I didn't even turn on my light for this. I forgot. Like, my light's not on. Oh my God, the sound's not great.
Well,
there's a fan going on.
It prevents them from getting started, right?
Half the fun is watching me get better.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But here's what's crazy to me, right? I look at this, right? And I'm in the best shape of my life.
Yeah.
I've got a podcast that I've released 60 episodes already.
Nice.
And here's where it's at. And this is what makes me happy. I told you this before we got started. I did a live yesterday. I get frustrated, man. I really do. Like, I feel like my message is not getting across. Like, nobody's listening. I went to the meetup, and 4 young dudes were like, "Oh my God, you're the dude that was on the live. Like, can we get your number and take you to coffee?" And I'm like,
"Oh,
how
fulfilling is that?"
I know, and that's everything. So like, it's
one
obviously
person
getting out there. Yeah,
one person. Like, I said this the other day. Yeah,
a guy wrote me this yesterday. He goes, "Austin, I've been listening to your podcast for 4 months. You don't know who I am." He said, "You talked about being a change in other people's life."
Wow.
I went to hang out with my best friend this weekend. I helped him on some personal development stuff and some stuff he was dealing with. He texted me 3 days later and said, "I'm in a better place. I feel better about myself. Thank you so much." He goes, "Isn't that what you talk about? Being a 1% better every day?"
You give me the chills.
I was like, yeah.
Dude, that's like, I'm getting chills. That's what it's about. That's, I mean, I want to like leave it on such a good note. Like, that's what it's about, right? Like, one experiment, one life, 1% better every day. I mean, look, what more else do you want, man? No. Austin, how can we construct our lives with you, or be inspired to continue to learn from you, so that we can literally do as the specific individual that messaged you? How can we continue to stay connected with you so we can do the same in our lives?
Something, I'm going to leave you with one statement, and then I'll tell everybody. Make sure that who you're showing up as every day is you and not somebody else. Meaning, make sure that you're clear on who you are as a person, and you're peeling back the layers and the onions to get to your true self. And when you're acting in the true self of who you are, you're good to go, man. But what I want to say is, how you get a hold of me is Facebook, Instagram, Austin Linney. If you DM me, I will respond. I'm happy to jump on a call with anybody and share anything I can to help them out. Construct Your Life podcast. We release 2 podcasts a week. While I got them on here and it's recorded, what I've been doing is lives on like Wednesday on Facebook and Instagram. I'm going to have you on. We're going to cut it up. We're going to talk. But hey, really, it's all you because I'm still waiting for you to come on my podcast. Yeah, I said
sure.
Yeah.
That's on me.
But,
that's on me.
But anybody hit me up, man. I'm happy to help any way I can. I have a huge network. If anybody needs anything, I'm kind of like Ruben. I got all the connections. So anything I can do, I just thank you so much for having me on, my man.
Awesome, man. It's been more than real. We'll be sure to include that in the show notes. And just like that, we are out.